Following the First Punic War, Carthage suffered a devastating loss to the Roman Empire. This loss resulted in the handing over of Sardinia and Corsica and a heavy imposition of dreadful taxes from the Romans. This allowed Romans to gain a superiority complex. Throughout public and private affairs, Romans knew they had the upper hand and saw the Carthaginians as inferior to themselves, further dividing the two empires. Carthage was in a lowly state and remained dormant for many years. That was until Hamilcar Barca, a high-ranking official in the Carthaginian forces, began to lead an expedition in the Iberian Peninsula. Hamilcar was fueled by a raging hatred for the Romans. Carthage regularly depicted the Romans as evil tyrants. Hamilcar drowned years before his intended battle, but left a sense of hatred in his son, Hannibal, who was destined to lead his army. Hannibal continued his father's push northeast into the Iberian Peninsula until capturing Saguntum. Romans did not take lightly to this and declared war in response to the act of aggression. When this war was publicly announced, in order to garner full support from the citizens, Romans declared the Carthaginians as despicable invaders of the prestigious homeland. Following this declaration, Hannibal pushed to North Italy in days and began a move on the capital. On his way to Rome, half of his soldiers were killed, injured, or deserted. However, this did not stop his offensive, as his growing hatred for Rome and convincing tactics brought forth many Roman subjects in the Alps to rally behind his cause. In 218, at the Battle of Trebia, Sempronius Longus, a Roman general, was defeated, along with Gaius Flaminius, the dictator at the time, and pushed back toward Rome. This was the stepping stone for Hannibal to push further south. At the same time, Hannibal's brother Hasdrubal the Fair held the Iberian Peninsula and grew his army there. A wise dictator for the Romans named Fabius Maximus Cunctator could tell Hannibal was going to be trouble, so he became known as the Delayer. His sole mission was to slow the inevitable approach of the Carthaginians. The year is 215, and Hannibal has garnered large support from the city-states that were unhappy with Roman rule. At the same time that Hannibal was leading large successes in Cannae and on the east coast of Italy, his brother was suffering. In the Battle of Dertosa, the Scipio brothers of the Roman army defeated Hasdrubal the Fair and pushed an assault on Carthage territory. Now, the Romans are tyrants and invaders. In 213, the siege of Syracuse began. Just off the coast of Sicily, Romans lay into the fort. After devising multi-stage plans to get in, they were able to take the win in 212. There, they accidentally killed the Greek architect Archimedes in the process, effectively taking away the foothold for Carthage. In 210, Hannibal was able to squeeze out a win at Numistro over Roman general M. Claudius Marcellus. This was a heavy loss for him and would lead to his recall to Rome the next year, as he was a constant loser. Scipio Africanus, the younger of the brothers, led Romans into Carthage territory in 204 following years of successful battles. This pulled Hannibal out of the Roman territory, securing the area back to the empire. After failed negotiations, Hannibal and Scipio were forced to duke it out in the Battle of Zama in 202. This would be the final standing for Hannibal, as his war tactics were severely lackluster and his own elephants came back at him. The war ended with surrender. Rome remained in existence. Carthage was reduced to a small state that should never rise again, and Romans remained the superior figure, further dividing the all-powerful mighty conquerors and Dwebus Amoebus southern losers.